Hey, what's going on, Empire? Welcome back to another daily analysis here with DTA, talking about AMP only and a little bit of BTC because we all know that, BTC is the benchmark for the entire cryptocurrency market at this point until we start to see the decoupling of AMP from Bitcoin. And that, my good friends, is only a matter of time. It truly is inevitable. So, hopping right in, looking at CoinGecko.com today, we can see that AMP is currently still in that low 4 cents range. We sort of failed to break above the 0.045 range, which we actually need to be above to get us back on our support zone, which would carry us up into the 5 cents level, right? So right now we are up 5.8%, which is great. We did see, a slight bounce from Bitcoin when we go take a look at the charts, but for now anyway, AMP along with all of the other cryptocurrencies in the market are following what Bitcoin does, and we can see that we did slightly move down in our market cap spot. Yesterday, I believe we were ranked number 45, but today we're actually ranked number 46. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because, ultimately we do want to get all the speculators out of the market and we want to pull in, the investors, the ones who are here for the long term, not necessarily just the short term, right? So, not necessarily a bad thing. Different perspectives and different ways to really look at that. So that's what we have going on with CoinGecko. If we take a look at EtherScan just to see the amount of holders that we have in the AMP market, we can see that we actually did increase by about 150 or so. Yesterday we were at the 227,272 mark. Today we're at 27,362. So it's pretty lovely to see all of these new members and new holders coming into the AMP market. So that's what we have going on with EtherScan, and what you all been waiting for, hopping right into the charts today, right? So starting off with the weekly chart, we can see that, again, we're right at this lower 4 cents range, right? We have about a few hours left until this weekly candle closes. And I think that as long as we can, support this wick at the bottom, or get as close as possible to the fib 786, then we may start to see some upward momentum possibly next week. We did see a whole bunch of buying pressure starting the week of May 31st, and that went all the way until mid-June, right? So it was likely that we were going to see a decline, right? A pullback or a retracement just to support the healthy growth of the AMP market. So, this is normal in retrospect, and this run up was mainly due to the Coinbase listing news. So, Coinbase has an effect that tends to take markets, up at least 10x. And, AMP is no different from that. So this pullback was healthy and this pullback was necessary. So that's what we have going on for the weekly. Hopping right into the daily, like we called yesterday, we did end yesterday's daily candle with the doji, the July 17th candle, right? And we said that, this was our reversal signal, right? And that's sort of what we're seeing right here, right? But we still ruled out every case scenario that could happen, right? We said that we would retest the fib 786. It's possible that we could get rejected and come back down to, our support level at the 0.041 mark, or, we could form a higher level of support before moving back up and possibly pushing past the fib 786, right? So we know for a fact that resistance is kicking in right at the fib 786 line, right? That will put us price wise at the 0.045 level. And we can see that there's a lot of selling pressure. If we zoom in and we see the long wick at today's candle, right? We see this long wick at the top of this candlestick, which is giving us an indication that there's a lot of selling pressure going on right here. So if we can manage to get above this, I think that would be healthy for AMP in the long run. But we have to sort of wait and see what's going to happen, right? And also, we have to wait and see what's going to happen with Bitcoin because today is the 18th and the GPT shares are, unlocking today. So we'll see what's going to happen with the market during this week. I think that we should also keep an eye on, what's happening with GPTC, right? Using Yahoo Finance or even TradingView to see how that market is moving so we can understand, what impact it could possibly have with Bitcoin. So, that's what we have going on with AMP on the daily chart. On the 4 hour, we can see that, again, we are starting to put in some higher levels of support, right? And we can see that because if we go to the painting brush, right, this is where our previous level of support was, right? And then we came lower. But, right now we're up here. So, if we can move a little bit higher and we can put in a support level here and then possibly one up here, that would be super healthy for AMP. And I think that we may see, a small rally going forward. But that's what we have going on with the 4 hour. Again, it's a possibility that we may get rejected here at these levels and, come back down to our previous lows of support, right? All the way at the 0.041 mark. Or, it's very possible that we may just blow right past it, right? Time will tell. I think that we just have to be patient and, again, just keep an eye out for, Bitcoin because that's pretty much the benchmark for the entire cryptocurrency market, guys. So hopping right into Bitcoin's chart, let's take a look and see what's going on. And yesterday in yesterday's daily analysis on Reddit, I actually did include a link that shows the on-chain analysis for Bitcoin, and it shows that the number of holders holding 100,000 Bitcoin or more is actually increasing, and the number of holders holding between 10,000 and 100,000 Bitcoin is decreasing, right? And I'm speculating that mainly institutions or accredited investors, they are primarily the ones accumulating Bitcoin at these price levels, right? Think about it. Who is really going to be accumulating Bitcoin when the price of Bitcoin is between 31,000 and 32,000, right? You have to have a pretty decent net worth to be accumulating Bitcoin at these levels, right? Or, you have to be liquidating assets from another source to be accumulating Bitcoin at these levels. And also, these institutional players, they know how to use Bitcoin in a way that is similar to how we can use property, because Bitcoin is taxed in the same way property is taxed, right? So there is ways to borrow against it without losing ownership of that asset. And the traditional, I guess, retail investor may not have that same knowledge as an accredited investor or as an institution. So I think that they know where this is going, and they're pretty much utilizing it in the way that it's seen underneath the SEC's eyes right now, right? Bitcoin is taxed the same way property is. So if that's the case, then that means that you get all the benefits that come with owning property with Bitcoin, right? And I think that's a no-brainer. So you really shouldn't be selling Bitcoin at these levels. I think that you should understand how to use Bitcoin and also how to use property and the benefits that come with owning property, because it is an asset. And the rich stay rich and wealthy by never selling their assets. So that's just a quick gem that I want to give to all you guys. But looking at Bitcoin's chart right now, we can see again, the springs are being retested, right? If we draw a horizontal line, we can see that every time we've come down to the $31,000 level, that's been a spring, right? And let's make this line a little bit more visible. We're going to make this a dash dotted line, and we are going to make it very thick, right? So you can all see like what's going on. So this dash line that looks kind of crazy. Let's make it a line, right? Take the dash off. Okay, cool. So what we're seeing right here is, on this line, these are our secondary tests, right? Secondary test, secondary test, secondary test, just to see if, you know, the market can go up. And every time we come down to these secondary tests, there's been accumulation happening, right? We already have our preliminary support. We already had our spring, right? And then we had our higher low. So everything that we're seeing right now are secondary tests, and these secondary tests are holding, right? We know that there's been a lot of FUD in the market. We know the narrative of the news and the media, and if we go to the fear and greed index for crypto, we can see that the sentiment of the entire market has changed from what it was a month ago. A month ago, the fear and greed index was, at one of its all times highs in terms of being greedy. You know, investors and in the market were very greedy. And in the words of Warren Buffett, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others are fearful. It was too greedy, so we came back down. There was a correction that needed to happen. And right now, the fear and greed index is extremely fearful right now. And I think that, fundamental and, technical investors, they are taking advantage of this fully. And we can see that in a lot of markets because there's been massive amounts of accumulation happening. So, that's just something to consider. And I think that, if we do move to the downside a little bit more with Bitcoin, then the fear and greed index will, continue to be more fearful, but we'll see more accumulation happening before price reverses and we move to the upside. But again, nobody can be 100% correct about what's going to happen with the markets. We just really have to wait and be patient. But again, we are on the levels of testing our secondary test levels in this accumulation structure for Bitcoin. And again, until we break this, until we come lower, right? If we do see a 29K or 28K Bitcoin, then I think that this accumulation structure will ultimately be broken, right? But in retrospect to this, we are still above the previous all-time high for Bitcoin, right? And we can sort of go back and look at this to when we hit 20K, right? And that was way, 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 way back. Let's see if we can find this. Okay, so we hit a 20K Bitcoin way back here, way back in December of 2017, right? We're way above this. Our secondary tests are way above this. So, we may see something similar to what we saw in 2017, where we had two dips with Bitcoin, right? Before hitting a second all time high. That's very possible. We have a lot of traders talking about that right now, right? Um, Another way to sort of look at this is, to draw a line from, where this massive selling climax started, which will be right here, and to just connect the dots, connect the lines, right? And we can see that with that, it very much resembles a descending triangle, right? So if that is the case, right, let's suppose that this is a descending triangle, and we want to measure this move from the bottom to the top, right? And we take that, let's say we have a breakdown near the end of this apex, right? That will put Bitcoin at a low of $18,000, right? So we would actually come back down a little bit lower to the previous all-time high of 2017. Now, is that likely? Could that happen? It could very much happen, right? We just have to be realistic about the situation happening. It could very much happen, right? Alternatively, it could be a fake out, right? And that's sort of the I guess, what do you call it? That is the nuance of the market, right? Nobody can ever be 100% correct about what's going to happen. um, and TAs don't always play out to the T. Technical analysis don't always play out to you know exactly how it's going to happen. There are fake outs that happen, right? There's manipulation that happens to make you think one way, but something else happens, right? Manipulation makes you look to the left while other things are happening on the right. So, we just have to be realistic about what could possibly happen and, train our eye to be as objective as possible rather than subjective and, saying, oh, yeah, such and such is going to happen. Well, what are the confirmations, right? What confirmations do you have, right? What is the charts telling you? What is the news telling you? What is the market sentiment? These are all things that we have to pay attention to. So, that's what we have going on for AMP and Bitcoin for today's daily analysis. Um, Also, one quick thing that I wanted to point out about Flexa for those of you who may not know, um, Flexa is actually a registered money transmitter in multiple states, right? So if you go to consumeraccess.com, I'll post this link in the description for today's video. It's very easy for you to find out, businesses that are verified financial service providers, right? And I just happen to type in Flexa Network, and we can see their entire profile populates, right? Um, they are a registered money transmitter in 9 out of 10 states, right? 9 out of 10 states are currently active in processing uh, payments through the Flexa network, right? And I don't think you guys really understand how extremely difficult it is to become a verified money transmitter with the SEC, right? So this is sort of a quick step-by-step guide, and also a quick visual of how to become a verified money transmitter. And the important thing to note with this is that each state has a different process, but these are 6 of the most common steps that a business has to take to become a verified money transmitter in any of the 50 states for the US. So, first things first, you have to fill out an application. Then you have to pay the necessary fees. Then you have to have a minimum net worth in between 10,000 to $50,000 as a business. We all know Flexa and AMP is worth way more than that right now, and we're still small. We're still very early. Then you have to maintain permissible investments, meaning your market cap has to maintain, meaning your fundamentals have to maintain, right? And we all know fundamentally Flexa has been doing some amazing things. And the last 2 steps, you have to complete a background check, and then you have to provide a form of security or a bond. And this is the most important part, right? So each state has a different requirement. These bonds or these securities are basically a down payment, right? So as a business, you are making a down payment as the last step to become a verified money transmitter with the state. You're basically saying to the state, okay, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars because I passed all of the 5 steps or all of the requirements to become a money transmitter in your state, right? Another way to think about it is, the state is making you pay a fee to become a verified money transmitter with them. And this fee can range in between anywhere of $10,000 to $500,000. Yeah. That's a big difference. But this isn't a quick thing to do, and the fact that Flexa has been doing this seamlessly over the years, working hand in hand with Consensus, is amazing to see. So I'm excited about this. This is super bullish. You really can't find any other crypto company or cryptocurrency project out there that is a verified money transmitter. But guess what? Flexa happens to be one of them. And last but not least, just kind of closing it off and looking at some of the news out there, we did see this article right here from economictimes.com. And this is news happening in India. All right, I think it's useful to find news that's happening in different countries, different areas, not just the area where you're living, because that gives you a broader perspective about what's happening. So the headline for this is that Crypto Week at a glance. Crypto markets feel the blues as GBTC shares unlock, right? And if you search for AMP is amongst one of the top losers from, the previous week that we were in, the previous trading week. We've been down, 24.9%, right? And I think the key thing with this to remember is that, if you're staking AMP, are you really down? And I think the answer to that is no. Why? Because when you stake AMP, you receive AMP rewards on a daily basis, right? And to take it a step further, are you lending AMP, right? Are you lending AMP? There's only one platform that you can currently lend AMP with, and that is with Ruler Protocol, right? Ruler Protocol is a DeFi stablecoin lending and borrowing platform. If you take a look at AMP's Twitter, they made this announcement weeks ago. They made it at the end of June, right? The beginning of July 1st, that's when lending AMP became available for the Ruler Protocol. And anyone that lends AMP can earn rewards up to 81,000 AMP plus 25 Ruler tokens per week. Right? So if you wanted to calculate the value of that, right? 81,000 AMP. So you will be earning in USD value $3,535 per week in AMP just from lending AMP on the Ruler Protocol, right? And that's despite the market direction that we've been sort of trending in for the last couple of weeks. Right? Like even though the market has been going down, you would be earning 81,000 AMP, which equates to $3,535 in USD value, right? So again, guys, these are all ways to, hedge against what's happening in the market right now, to hedge against market downturn, and to also, earn more AMP without, giving up ownership of it, right? These are all strategies that I'm sort of taking advantage of. And I think that, the rest of the AMP community should definitely be taking advantage of this as well. If you want to learn more about, how to use Ruler, they give a description in the Twitter. There's some FAQs as well as videos to teach you all about this. So, I highly recommend taking full advantage of this. So that's what we have going on for today's daily analysis. If you guys like this content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And until tomorrow, DTA is out.